We're going again live to the National Electoral Council in Caracas, Venezuela, as the adjudication and proclamation of the elected officials to the National Assembly continues. We were recently seeing the statements by some of the officials that were elected. We have confirmation that the president of the current National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, and first combatant Celia Flores have arrived as well to the National Electoral Council to also take part in this activity. Let's listen to the statements. Electoral authorities give you the warmest welcome to the proclamation act of the deputies elected to the National Assembly for the legislative period 2026-2031. Let's stand to listen to the national anthem of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Glory to the courageous people.
Gritaba el Señor, y el pobre en su choza libertad pidió. A este santo nombre tembló de pavor el vil egoísmo que otra vez triunfó. A este santo nombre tembló de pavor el vil egoísmo que otra vez triunfó. El vil egoísmo que otra vez triunfó. Gloria al bravo pueblo que el yugo lanzó, la ley respetando la virtud y honor. Gloria al bravo pueblo que el yugo lanzó, la ley respetando la virtud y honor.
Podemos sentarnos. Palabras a cargo del presidente del Poder Electoral.
We're going to listen to the statements of the President of the National Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso. Greetings to all the Venezuelan people from here, from the headquarters of the National Electoral Council, the electoral power, one of the 5 powers that's established by the Constitution of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to offer to all Venezuelans and the whole world the proclamation of the national deputies for the National Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We are deeply proud that rectors and workers of the National Electoral Council of having all of you here with us, and to thank the Venezuelan people to give once again a show of commitment with peace and our beloved homeland of Venezuela. It's a great honor to have you here, deputies, that will legislate the National Assembly during the next 5 years. We will be paying attention to the laws and decisions that you will take for the benefit of our nation. We also thank our Bolivarian armed forces, who still today continue to be deployed across the national territory in every point where there is a polling station, a voting center. Our Bolivarian armed forces is present. greeting to Minister Vladimir Padrino and to all the Chief of Staff for that extraordinary work in the benefit of the Bolivarian Republic. We want to tell you that the National Electoral Council, where we have the best electoral system in the world, something that has been proven by different visitors that have come throughout these years to Venezuela and have checked that this electoral system is the fastest and the most efficient and the safest, the most secure in the world. Yesterday and today, an important group of those that came visiting international observers, they left a document in benefit of what was the electoral process in Venezuela, where they did all their different observations, and of course we welcome deeply to all those illustrious visitors. Let's continue this day of proclamation with a summary that the Vice President is going to make. Vice President of the National Electoral Council, a member of the board, electoral board, that's where all the activities that has to do with the processes of elections are developed in our country, not only of deputies, but also of the different projects that are being developed. So I give the floor to the Vice President, Carlos Quintero. Good morning to the Venezuelan people. Welcome to all those present here today in this act of proclamation. On May 25th, without a doubt, was a deeply significant day for the country. Today we celebrate a moment of special significance for our democracy. With the act of proclamation that we carry out in this National Board of the National Electoral Council, we give fulfillment to what is established in the constitutional laws, formalizing the adjudication of the offices to deputies to the National Assembly, with the list of national adjudication, like simultaneously acts of proclamation are being carried out in every state of the country to officialize governors and of the states elected by the people on Sunday. Likewise, the regional representatives to the National Assembly and legislative councils. To all citizens that today are being proclaimed, our congratulations from our institution and our call to their commitment. The people of Venezuela has put in you all their trust, that mandate be turned now in service and work, and honest work, and full dedication to the welfare of the people. This election was marked by a committed participation, exemplary participation, which reaffirmed the Venezuelan people's democratic maturity and the use of the vote as an instrument to build in the future. Every electoral day is a step forward for the consolidation of our institutionality, our democratic institutionality. And today we have taken that step with strength, with peace, and with respect. We want to highlight especially that even in the states where the conditions, the weather conditions, were not in favor, with rain and bad weather, the Venezuelan people came out to vote. That attitude reaffirms the deep democratic spirit that unites us as a nation. Thank you, Venezuela. Thank you to give this great example of civism, of commitment to peace, for your example of democracy that is alive and is participatory and protagonist. Our sincere thanks to the Bolivarian Armed Forces through Operation Republic, their exemplary actions with discipline, respect, and steadfastness guaranteed the security of the process, the safeguarding of the electoral material, and the tranquility in all voting centers in the national territory. I want to express our most sincere and felt condolences for the regrettable death of 3 officials of the Operation Republic, 2 from the Bolivarian Armed Forces, and an official from the National Police, who lost their lives in the fulfillment of their duties during the process of delivering the electoral material. To their families and loved ones, we send our solidarity and respect. Their commitment to peace and with Venezuelan democracy will always be remembered. To security forces, thank you for your work. To all the commissions that comprise the popular power, our recognition to your work as well for your articulated work, committed and silence work that makes everything possible in every election. Thank you also to all the members at the voting tables and the witnesses of the organizations with a political aim that participated as candidates. To all political organizations, you have been also an integral part of this electoral party. We want to express also our most sincere recognition to the international observers that visited our country and accompanied this day from out of respect and objectivity and democratic commitment. Thank you for being witnesses of the commitment of the Venezuelan people and the ordinary development and transparent development of the electoral process in every voting center. Your sight, your attentive sight, and your presence ratifies the strength and solidifies the strength of our electoral system. And very especially, we give thanks to the officials of the National Electoral Council. Thank you to all. Your dedication, your professional work, and your love for this institution and for the country have been key so that this process was developed with transparency, normalcy, and absolute peace. With this proclamation, we fulfill a stage and we close a stage and we open another one of full exercise of political representation. We wish you success in your office, and we remember you that true power is honor following the people. Congratulations to all those that were elected and proclaimed, and long live Venezuelan democracy. The National Electoral Council informs the country that at this time, noon, local time, with 99.88% of the votes counted and a turnout of 43.18% of the electoral roll, we can report the following results. The Great Patriotic Poll got over 5 million votes. Which represents 83.42% of all votes. Democratic Alliance got over 300,000 votes, which is over 6% of votes. UNTC Única Alliance obtained over 5% of votes. And Neighborhood Strength Alliance obtained 2.35% of the votes. Other organizations with political aim got over 100,000 votes, representing 3.02% of the total of the votes. There were over 8,800 null votes, void votes. Out of the 285 seats to the National Assembly, 282 are adjudicated. Remember that on Sunday we must elect 3 deputies from indigenous organizations and 9 to the councils. The Great Patriotic Poll obtained over 260 seats to the National Assembly. Democratic Alliance got 13 seats. UNTC Única Alliance got 12 seats to the National Assembly. Neighborhood Strength obtained. Penso Alliance also got 1 seat to the National Assembly. For governorships, out of the 24, 24 have been adjudicated. The Great Patriotic Poll obtained 23 governors. And Democratic Alliance obtained 1 governor. For the Legislative Council of the states, out of the 260 offices, 247 have been adjudicated so far. The Great Patriotic Poll obtained 235 legislators to the Legislative Council in states. Democratic Alliance got 7. And the UNTC Única Alliance obtained 4 legislators to the legislative councils. Neighborhood Strength obtained 2 legislators. Thank you very much.
Proclamación de las diputadas y diputados de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela en la lista nacional de adjudicación a la Asamblea Nacional para el periodo 2026-2031.
So with this, the activities that have been said by the authorities, the proclamation of the deputies to the National Assembly continue to be carried out. For the Great Patriotic Poll, Jorge Jesus Rodriguez Gomez.
A través de la pantalla venezolana de televisión, cómo pues inicia este proceso de adjudicación y proclamación de los cargos electos el pasado domingo en este proceso electoral.
Celia Flores de Maduro, also for the Great Patriotic Poll. So we're seeing right now live is the proclamation of the elected deputies to the National Assembly by the Great Patriotic Poll. We just saw Jorge Rodriguez, now the first combatant Celia Flores, who are coming up to receive the official documentation from the President of the National Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso. With over 5 million votes, the Great Patriotic Poll obtained a great majority in this Sunday's council, in this Sunday's legislative and regional elections, securing over 260 seats in the National Assembly, representing 82% of the National, over 83% of the National Assembly, after almost all votes have been counted, as reported by the electoral authorities right now. That's what we are seeing right now on our screen, as all the deputies elected by the people, by Venezuelan people on Sunday's legislative and regional elections, deputies of the Great Patriotic Poll, Simon Bolivar, are now receiving the credentials of the office of the elected deputies for the national list. We should highlight that these people elected today will be in office starting early next year for the term 2026-2031. As also reported by the electoral authorities, all acts like these have been carried out all over national territory for the local deputies in each of the states. We saw earlier the one being held in the capital at the municipal theater. But acts like these are being carried out all across simultaneously all across the national territory, as the elected officials continue to receive their official documentations for the upcoming term, legislative term 2026-2031. In the case of the deputies to the National Assembly, they receive their credentials now, but they won't start to exercise that office until early next year, when the National Assembly is installed, the early days of January. However, in the case of the governors, as soon as they receive their credentials, which is happening today across the nation, they assume that office as the moment that they receive their credentials, unlike the deputies to the National Assembly. Also, the electoral authorities announced that also this Sunday the election will be held for the representative of the indigenous communities that also have a representation at the National Assembly will be carried out, so that also those seats can be filled and indigenous communities of Venezuela have their due representation as mandated by the Constitution at the National Assembly.
Enrique Capriles Radonsky, Luis Rondón, Iván González y Pablo Pérez son los representantes de las diversas oposiciones que resultaron electos para optar a un curul en el Parlamento venezolano.
So all these officials will have the duty, the pledge to continue working and legislating for the benefit of the people and for the welfare of the Venezuelan people starting next January, as they continue to implement new policies. And the National Electoral Council said to be attentive to see what comes out of that National Assembly that's going to be installed next January 2026, and will have a legislative term of 5 years until 2031. There are going to be proposals that are going to be presented starting tomorrow. Proposals that are going to start being drafted now, so that they can be presented as soon as possible to this newly elected National Assembly next January, and carry out new processes of consultation. We continue to see on our screen as the deputies elected to the National Assembly by the Great Patriotic Poll continue to receive their credentials, their proclamation of their elected office. This new National Assembly will have the duty to continue the work that the National Assembly that is ending its cycle this year of updating and continue carrying the work in different laws, and updating and reforming the laws that has to do with the organization of the communal power, something that has been doing a lot of highlights in the last 2 years. We have seen on our screen the different elections of the communal projects to give that power straight to the people of the communes, and that strengthening of that kind of political system, of power system, of empowering more the people to have more a direct say in their policy making, is what this new National Assembly will continue to reinforce and to adapt and update all the systems that have been in place so far. Nuestro país tenía que ver con actualizar este paquete de leyes y organizarlos en nuevos grandes códigos, destacaban las autoridades de nuestro país. Códigos que están referidos al área de la familia, al área judicial, al área ecológica y al área. We continue to see it on our screen as the national electoral authorities continue to give the credentials to all the deputies that were elected in Sunday's legislative and regional elections.
el fortalecimiento de las leyes de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. En este sentido, pues bastante amplio el trabajo que le corresponde a esta nueva
taking into account all the work that needs to be done, this new National Assembly is going to have a wide agenda in regards to all the process that want to be carried out of updating the current systems, the current legislature, and reforming the laws that exist today to continue improving the welfare of the Venezuelan people, to continue improving the systems that are in place, and to continue moving forward and strengthening the policy-making system that has been encouraged by the Bolivarian President Nicolás Maduro, will continue to strengthen that direct participatory democracy of governing alongside the people. The call has been made over and over again so that all elected officials do not work from offices but work on the streets alongside the common people, to go door to door, to listen to the people's what are their concerns, what are their needs, to be able to detect the issues right from the roots, to be able to better overcome those challenges. So the work the path has begun with this National Assembly that is closing its cycle, but the next National Assembly that was elected last Sunday and will begin working officially on January next year, has that job to continue, and they have this broad agenda to continue improving the current systems and continue increasing the policy making for the welfare and the benefit of the people as the country continues to recover from the harsh sanctions that have been imposed, illegal sanctions that have been imposed on Venezuela, and the economic blockade that has been imposed by the U.S. empire against Venezuela to try to submit the Venezuelan people. But so far, the Venezuelan people, with their own efforts, have been able to go over all these challenges and have continued to develop in their own way, as President Nicolás Maduro said, with their own efforts, with their own strategies, following their own path. And that's what this new National Assembly that is starting to work next January is what it's called to do. It's called to continue doing policy, taking all those things in mind, to continue working for that future of the Venezuelan people, to continue developing the policies that the Venezuelan people need, as little by little they begin to come out from those dark times, from those periods of hardships that they have known how to overcome. And now they have become to recover all the different industries, the different productions and different areas that has to do with all the production sector, the productive engines, as President Nicolás Maduro has described them. They will continue working and moving forward with all this. Let's recall that the great patriotic pulse Simón Bolívar has achieved over 83% of the seats in this National Assembly, ensuring the great majority. For them to continue to the work that they have developed so far, alongside the Venezuelan people that came out en masse and voted for them in Sunday's legislative and regional elections.
Sus candidaturas para participar en este proceso democrático, un proceso al cual las diversas oposiciones.
An election that was marked by peace, as has been described by different authorities, and they have given thanks to all the people involved in their public operation, which guaranteed the safe development of those elections that were threatened by that extremist sector of the far right that had envisioned plans to create this instability and to create violence, plans that were quickly dismantled by the security forces of the Venezuelan nation, that were quickly to act and to ensure that the Venezuelan people were able to come out and exercise their democratic right protected by the Constitution and participate in the mega elections held Sunday, May 25th. We must also remember, aside from securing over 83% of the National Assembly, the great patriotic pulse Simón Bolívar also achieved an ample majority in terms of governorship, securing a governor in 23 of the 24 states that make up the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, including the 24th state, which is that of Guayana Esequiba, that for the first time elected its Venezuelan authorities, its governor, its deputies to the National Assembly, and its legislators to the regional legislative councils last Sunday's May 25th elections, something that President Nicolás Maduro has said that will guarantee the defense of the national sovereignty of the whole territory of Venezuela. Venezuelan president also promised that it would give all its support to the governorship of Guayana Esequiba, as it continues to encourage the work for the people of Guayana Esequiba, for the people that were there and came out to vote as well. We continue to see live as the National Electoral Council gives the credentials to the deputies elected to the National Assembly by the great patriotic Paul Simon Bolivar. Recalling as well that activities like this are being held all across the national territory. Activities of the Adjudication and Proclamation to the elected office of last Sunday's elections have been held across the national territory as the different deputies from the different regions received their credentials after being elected by the Venezuelan people in Sunday's May 25th mega elections. That's the activity that we are seeing live on our screen. This is what is happening right now live in Caracas. This event of these offices are being adjudicated to the elected officials in last Sunday's mega elections, where the electoral authorities were listening to their statements, praised the democratic spirit of the Venezuelan people. They came out to vote on Sunday to exercise their right to choose their future and to choose what they want for their country, praising the work that was done in peace and recognizing once more the efficiency of the electoral system of Venezuela, an electoral system that has been praised as well by international observers that came here on this occasion. Over 400 international observers participated in Sunday's elections alongside the Venezuelan people and Venezuelan authorities, who have given credit, have been witnesses to the efficiency and transparency of the Venezuelan electoral system described by its own authorities and recognized by some of these international observers as the best in the world, the most efficient and the most secure. We even saw it live on our screen as well on Sunday, how quick and efficient the voting system was when we saw different authorities exercising their right to vote. If you are just tuning in, what we're having right now live on our screen is the act of proclamation and adjudication to the elected officials that were elected to the National Assembly all running by the great patriotic Paul Simon Bolivar, elected on Sunday by a vast majority. The great patriotic Paul received over 5 million votes in favor during Sunday's elections, securing over 83% of the National Assembly, ensuring as well that the great patriotic Paul continues to have a vast majority and continue to legislate as they have pledged in the benefit of the Venezuelan people, and continue to develop the projects that are envisioned within this alliance to continue to strengthen the governance system and continue to strengthen the electoral system. Things that are going to be projects that are being developed right now to be presented to this newly elected National Assembly as soon as it is installed early next year. The Great Patriotic Poll also ensured a great victory in the governorships. We must remind our audience, let's recall that out of the 24 states that comprise the Bolivarian Revolution, the Great Patriotic Poll secured 23 of the states. So we continue to see live from the National Electoral Council headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. The electoral authorities continue to give the credentials to all the officials that were elected to the National Assembly in last Sunday's mega elections in Venezuela. Mega election that was held in peace, tranquility, an election where the Venezuelan people came out to exercise their right to vote and put in evidence their democratic will and their will for peace and their bid for dialogue and coexistence, when even under harsh weather they were determined to come out and exercise their right to vote, using their vote as the instrument to prosperity and the instrument to move forward in the work that is being carried out in the nation.
Estas organizaciones del Gran Polo Patriótico. Además, las oposiciones también obtuvieron 6% de participación en este
Yesterday on Monday, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, speaking after the great victory of the Great Patriotic Poll in Sunday's mega election, he said that he described this great victory as a great success. A great success what was achieved on Sunday's mega elections, despite the Western and far-right attempts to undermine, to sabotage against the electoral process.
El Gran Polo Patriótico obtuvo el 90% de los curules con 253 diputadas y diputados.
Describing this victory, this electoral victory, as a victory against fascism and against terrorism.
Y 5 diputados respectivamente relacionados a las coaliciones que organizan esta plataforma opositora. Destacamos también que lo relacionado a la elección de los concejales ya han sido 247 cargos adjudicados.
Following the mega election held on Sunday, May 25th, the Great Patriotic Poll, Simón Bolívar achieved a vast majority at the National Assembly with over 5 million votes, securing over 83% of the seats of the National Assembly. But also, at a regional level, it secured 23 of the governorships, 23 out of the 24 governorships in the country, securing the governorships in 23 states, including the Guayana Esequiba state, which for the first time participated in Sunday's elections. The authorities have congratulated the people for their participation and their show of civism in this Sunday's elections, and also, of course, congratulated and thanked the hard work of the security forces within the Republic operation to ensure the safety and tranquility and to ensure of these elections, and also to ensure the safeguard of the electoral material prior to the election day and after the election day as well, as the Republic operation still continues to be developed, and still, as Elvis Amoroso, the president of the National Electoral Council, said, continues to be deployed across the voting centers, across the national territory, ensuring the successful development of the different stages of the electoral process. And what we have live on our screen right now is part of that electoral process. Is the adjudication and proclamation of the deputies elected to the National Assembly in last Sunday's mega elections, which is what we have been seeing on our screen. One by one, the deputies from the great patriotic polls in Bolívar are receiving at the hand of the National Electoral Council their credentials.
Diputado Campos, pues saludando a los representantes del Consejo Nacional Electoral para recibir pues la adjudicación de su cargo para el periodo legislativo que inicia el 5 de enero del año 2026. Les recordamos a las personas que nos
We must remind our viewers that this National Assembly will begin its work, and they have already, different deputies that were elected on Sunday have already pledged their commitment. They have already pledged their commitment to continue working, following the path that so far they have done, to continue working for the people. To continue developing the different sectors, the different areas of daily life, so that the Venezuelan people have a better welfare, and replace that in 2030, the country that in 2031, the country that they live to the next National Assembly is in way better condition than the one that they receive. Continue the place to continue improving all the projects and policies implemented so far, and continue to update all the different laws, to continue building on what this National Assembly that concludes its cycle has built.
José Brito, otro de los diputados de las oposiciones de nuestro país, pues quien recibe su.
So we have live, we're seeing live on our screen from the National Electoral Council the act of proclamation and awarding of deputies to the National Assembly for the upcoming period 2026-2031, were elected after Sunday's May 25th mega elections that was carried out in the whole territory of Venezuela, including Guayana Esequiba, which for the first time took part of this electoral party. The President of the National Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso, highlighted that it is a source of pride to have elected deputies in this event, which is being held simultaneously in all the regions of the country with the deputies of the list and the governorships. Those were the words of Elvis Amoroso as he was starting this particular act of proclamation. After watching the deputies for the National Assembly of the Great Patriotic Poll, now we're seeing the first of the opposition, of the different oppositions that were elected. The one that we just saw to receive his credential was for Democratic Action. Now we have on the screen another official that was elected from the opposition as well to the National Assembly.
Y recibe pues estas credenciales que lo acreditan como diputado para el próximo periodo legislativo, que recordamos inicia sus funciones el 5 de enero del año 2026. todos a la espera de esta importante gráfica que se ve hasta ahora a través de la pantalla de venezolana de televisión, una imagen pues que da muestra de esa.
So these images that we see on the screens of our teleSUR images is the show of the Bolivarian democracy, of the different sectors of the political spectrum that presented their candidacy and also joined and participated and followed the Constitution, and that's why they also participated, and also some were elected. The opposition got over 10% of this opposition, of this alliance, Democratic Action, got over 10% of the National Assembly. That were held last Sunday.
Seguimos presentando para ustedes a través de la pantalla de venezolana de televisión, pues la participación de estas ciudadanas y ciudadanos que.
So we continue to see on our screen the participation of all the different deputies that were elected to the National Assembly, to the upcoming election, to the upcoming National Assembly, and they are receiving the credentials that give them the authority to be part of that National Assembly for the next January, that will be installed next January, for the next 5 years. And they're going to continue to work in everything that has to do with the protection of the Venezuelan people, the protection of its different areas of development, the protection of the different public services, as has been pledged by the different candidates during the electoral campaign. We were saying previously, the president of the National Electoral Council, Amoroso, said that what happened on Sunday was a source of pride for all Venezuelans to be able to see how the people came out to vote and participate in these democratic processes. We remind that events like the one we're seeing live on our screen are being held simultaneously across all regions of the national territory for the deputies and governorships to the regional legislative councils. Unlike the deputies to the National Assembly, which are sworn into office next year, that they begin to work, that National Assembly will begin its work next year. Governors, that as soon as they receive their credentials, they take office of that governorship. And we remind that 23 out of the 24 governorships were won by the great patriotic Paul Simon Bolivar, including the 24th state of Guayana Esequiba, that participated for the first time in Sunday's mega electoral party. In his opening speech as well, the President of the National Assembly, Elvis Amoroso, acknowledged the work of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, which are still now, as of this moment, deployed throughout the national territory, in every voting center. And also announced that international observers they all gave testament to the electoral party that was developed on Sunday, May 25th, describing the process and reflecting the successful development of this electoral party, and describing the process as highly efficient and transparent, something that has been said by the electoral authorities on different occasions, that Venezuela's electoral voting system is state-of-the-art. An electoral system that always has drills coming before the election to ensure and to demonstrate the efficiency and the correct functioning of these machines, of this system.
Diversos cargos como se desarrolló el pasado domingo.
So at this hour, we continue to see live how the National Electoral Council continues to deliver the credentials to the different deputies that have been elected to the National Assembly, elected last Sunday, May 25th. We saw the candidates, the officials elected for the Great Protective Bowl, led by Jorge Rodriguez and first combatant Celia Flores, received their credentials, as well as we have seen some from the oppositions as well receiving their credentials after being elected in last Sunday's mega election.
Observado cómo cada uno de ellos se ha levantado a recibir estas credenciales por parte de las autoridades del poder electoral venezolano, pues dando muestra de la democracia participativa.
This kind of event gives testament to the participatory and protagonist democracy that the Bolivarian country has.
Pues representantes de la oposición que han tenido pues acciones bastante radicales y el día de hoy pues se encuentran presentes acá luego de salir victoriosos en estas elecciones, y además también hemos visto cómo algunos de ellos se acercan a saludar a los representantes del gran polo patriótico, al doctor Jorge Rodríguez, a la doctora Cilia Flores. Son las imágenes que nosotros podemos observar a esta hora en primera fila desde acá del Consejo Nacional.
We're going to listen to more statements from the President of the National Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso. Well, it was a very significant act for the whole of Venezuela. Thank you to the Venezuelan people to be always attentive and for the trust that they give to the electoral power of the National Electoral Council. And well, we are going to continue doing our work. We are going to have another consultation on the decisions, of the important decisions that the Venezuelan people is taking in all the projects, in the different activities that are part of the competence of the people. It belongs to the people the right to decide. Proposal made, of course, by the National Executive, something that we always respect at the National Electoral Council, with the workers and with the different technical teams of the electoral boards that are guaranteed that each of those projects can be developed to facilitate what the Venezuelan people aspire to. This is definitely a protagonist democracy with the participation and strengthen the institutions of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the laws of the country. And we are certain that the union of the National Executive and the Electoral Council is the format to follow, and we're going to continue to give updates of the strengthening of democracy in our beloved homeland, Venezuela. So in name of the President, Elvis Amoroso, the Vice President, Carlos Quintero, Rector Rosalba Gil, the other rectors, Nodal, Perez, Aura Rosa, Rector Leon Parica, and Max, and Rector Antonieta Stefano, Francisco Garcés, and Fabio, and Secretary Antonio Meses. We give our most sincere thanks to all of you. We wish you success in this new task as lawmakers of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, deputies to the National Assembly of our beloved homeland, together, of course, with these regional states that will also go to the National Assembly, which are right now at this moment also being proclaimed to meet in the moment at the National Assembly when it's decided to be sworn in and to begin your activities and fulfill your duties. So in the name of our National Electoral Council, We thanks to all of you that are here present here, and to all the powers of the homeland, the executive power, the legislative power, the judicial power, the moral power, and to the workers of the National Electoral Council for all that support that have been given to be able to fulfill with what our beloved homeland requires and wants. More democracy, strengthen the democracy, and consolidate peace. This is the only way to consolidate peace, is through the sincere expression of the Venezuelan people. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of Venezuela. So those were the statements of Elvis Amoroso, the President of the National Electoral Council, as closing this act of proclamation and adjudication of the offices of the people, of the deputies that were elected in Sunday's mega election. So this is part of the protocols that are followed after the mega elections on Sunday, the proclamation and adjudication of the offices to all the deputies that were elected to the National Assembly that will set its legislative period from 2026 to 2031, and will continue on the work that has been built so far by this National Assembly that is closing its cycle early next year. Stay tuned with teleSUR English for more upcoming news briefs.